Hello folks, this video is a continuation of a series I've been doing on building a diesel air compressor. Now if you have not watched the video that comes before this in the series, I would highly recommend watching it because it goes into detail on how I got this tank and got this compressor working. It was previously stuck and got pulleys and belts and regulators and all kinds of stuff to make this thing in working condition. So in the last video we saw it run and work, although off camera there were some issues. At the very end of the video I mentioned that I was using a different pulley than this on here, which is why this looks different. I was using an 8-inch outer diameter, I think it was cast aluminum or zinc, so it's very light. And what happened is when this thing was under load, like at 80 psi or something, real high pressure, and this would start to get a really uneven load to where it would jerk when it would go around. You couldn't see it with the naked eye because it was too fast, but you could kind of tell in the slow-mo footage, and you could tell that the fan was jerking on there so much that it broke the zip ties and came off. And so what I did is I returned that pulley and I ordered online this cast iron 10-inch pulley that is a lot heavier. It's about 6 pounds. It's not as heavy as the one I took off it, which is this one over here. Same OD outer diameter. It's just this one's like 10 pounds. That one's super heavy. But this one's a little bit lighter. And I'm hoping this should be a good weight. And it has these blades built into it for cooling purposes, so that's good. You don't have to mount a fan on there. And also, since we're upping the outer diameter, we should have more mechanical advantage and therefore put less load and strain on our engine. Because it was really working at the top of its performance band there. Like you could tell it was smoking, start to smoke, which that's not necessarily a bad thing for a diesel, but you know, it's not going to hurt it to be running, demanding a little bit less power. So I of course had to get a new belt, and hopefully this is the right size. I measured the outer diameter and it's supposed to be 50 inches, the outer circumference of the entire belt. This is a 49 or 49 and a half or something, so it may be very close. I'll see if I can maybe roll this thing on. Oh yeah, no, that's good. That might even be loose if anything. Look at that. You can see that has plenty of flex in it. I might even tighten that guy up a little bit. It's maybe hard to see on camera, but the alignment you can tell is more space on this side coming off the pulley out of the groove than this side. So it is going like this a little bit because this is inset more than this one. And it's hard to fix. I actually already pulled this out a little bit on the shaft. It's about 1/8 of an inch farther out. But I think this is good enough to run it, and maybe I'll adjust it a little more later. So now that we have this thing loosened up on here, you can see that we have some play in our mount, which is intentional, so I can tension this thing a little bit tighter hopefully. So I'm going to pull on this clutch to get it nice and tight, and I'm just going to start cranking down on these bolts. Alright, well, sorry it's really backlit right now, but you can see that it's still got good flex to it, but it's not like loose like it was before. Like if I try to spin this pulley on here, the smaller one, oh, it's really hard. It's really hard to get it to slip, that is. The bigger pulley is not worn in yet, so it has like the paint and stuff on it. But let's give this thing a test run. Warm up a little bit. like to run it on full throttle, so that way it will engage the clutch the most, so the clutch doesn't slip. The belt still flaps a lot, but it's not flowed off yet. Well, we still need to get that leak in the tank fixed. You can hear it. It's not so good. But we got it up at 100 psi. It's definitely good. Yeah, this gauge sort of works. It's actually getting loosened up over time for me using it, I think. It just reads a little high. So, seems to work much better. We still have a lot of belt flap though. I mean, I don't think that's the technical term for it, but the belt is vibrating a lot is what's going on. And that's just something that's going to happen, especially with V-belts, because you don't run them super tight, and this engine vibrates a ton, this thing vibrates some, so it's just going to be flapping, unfortunately. But it didn't fly off, and before off camera the belt would actually fly off, like it would just fall off and spin away on the ground because it was so jerking so hard. But it seems to be much better in that respect. This is actually crazy. That thing can run, and it produces enough air to let this thing run non-stop. Like you see, it's just, I'm holding it all the way down, and it's that thing can keep up with this, fully depressed. It's crazy. We have no drop in pressure. Holding right at 60 psi. Get hot. Works good, but this compressor is getting crazy hot. The front side here, where the fan's blowing, is cool. The back side, cool, warm, I guess, not cool, but the head is bad. The head's really hot. Like I can't touch it for very long. So that's just kind of the issue. Since this is not a very big fan, it's not spinning very fast, it's not going to cool it super well. But it is what it is. It looks tacky to mount a big plastic fan on there or something. And I think for running, and if you were going to run this for like a half hour non-stop, putting out a ton of air for some reason, maybe I'd put like a fan, like a box fan or something, just set it to blow on here to help cool down a little bit, because it does get hot. But I mean, it's running absolutely great, minus the leak. But honestly, this thing is more than capable of keeping up with that. And I want to get that fixed, and hopefully I'll get that fixed sometime later on this video. Alright, well, I'll get back to you when we have more progress to be made on this project, which could be a while. Okay, so I don't know when the last clip was, how long ago it was, but it's been definitely a few weeks, and summer is officially over. But we got parts for the compressor. I really hope I got the right stuff. We've got a hose, and this is rated for very high pressure. It's actually a water hose, so it should work for this because it's going to run on lower pressure than it's rated for. And then the main event is this pressure relief valve, pressure unloader doohickey. And yeah, I don't understand this super well at the moment. I talked to someone at the company about this, and basically you hook this up to your your air line from your compressor directly into this, and then the output goes into the tank. And when this gets to a certain pressure coming in, it'll like stop off the flow, or it'll unload the pressure until it gets down to a certain pressure again, and then I'll allow air to flow through again and fill the tank back up. Yeah, I hope it works. Alright, out with the old, and we'll see if I did this correctly. Alright, so here's this is supposed to be, I don't know if you can see that guy there. That is supposed to be 3/8 NPT. Please. It's not looking good. So this threads into here, which this is 1/2 inch, but not into there on this side, which is, so I don't know what this thing is. Does not fit 3/8. So this side is definitely MPT. You can see the taper on it. You can see the taper on that. I mean, I don't know if it probably doesn't pick it up on camera, but this side, not MPT, no taper. So that's probably our issue right there. That's probably our issue. So I'll see if I can go to the local hardware store and see if they can tell me exactly what this is, and if they have an adapter that'll fit this and go up to 1/2 inch MPT. Alright, so I went down to the local hardware store and wasted about 30 minutes of some poor employee's time. The guy was really nice though. I appreciate his help a lot. But I found all the hardware that we needed. So this is what I would call complicated, but we have a copper pipe, a very short copper pipe. We have a sleeve. We put said sleeve on copper pipe, and now we have this nut that'll compress that sleeve and create a compression fit and on this copper pipe so we can get a good seal. So it wasn't pipe thread, it was compression. So it was what is this? 1/2 inch compression. That's what it is. And I did not know that. Alright. Okay, so I don't have the sleeve for this one because there's just like a kind of mostly deteriorated gasket in there. So that's really not ideal. But we'll be connecting this to this guy. That's as tight as that thing can get. That's not quite good enough. But ideally I will get a sleeve for that. So we'll get a proper compression fit on there. And now we have our pressure unloader, which should screw right onto here. It's like putting a puzzle together with fittings, I'll tell you. Uh-oh. Yeah, that thing is just gonna come loose. Maybe. Now we have this, which goes from 1/2 inch pipe thread down to 3/8 inch compression. Oh no, it's a bitch. Oh. And now we have our hose, which fits this. Oh no. Oh, this hose is so way too long. I should have gone with a 6 inch, man. And then I had to replace this guy in here with this new one as well. This is really not an optimal setup. I need probably a 6 inch to go from here to here. And then as for the pipe down here, I obviously need a sleeve. Alright, so I once again decided to redesign this system. But I promise this is the last time.
Oh, come on.
We have another one of these, which is 1/2 inch compression to 1/2 inch MPT, and we're going to be hooking that to this pipe. It has the little sleeve this time, so don't worry, I got that. So we'll have a proper fit. I don't know how far actually that needs to go, but I'm not going to do this connection yet. I'm just going to very loosely get it snugged on there like that, which we're going to hook this to here. And then we're going to hook this pipe. I'm going to reuse this pipe that originally came on it, because if we use all copper pipes to connect this thing up, it'll be much more solid and heat resistant than that other pipe, that other hose I was going to use before. So I just decided that this was a much better system. So you can see it's going to be a little bit off, but I think I can fix it, probably. It's not the most pretty thing ever, but that is very solidly mounted on there. Solid copper line going from here to here, pressure regulation unit, tiny copper line going from here to here, all with sleeves on them so they're properly sealed, going directly into our check valve and tank. That leaves us one thing left to test it out. The clutch is a little bit broken. I don't know what's going on with that clutch, but it like vibrates and starts engaging instantly. Like you hear it go boom, boom, and it's vibrating, and it locks up and engages instantly, even if it's at this really low RPM. So there's definitely something wrong with that, but we can still test out this. I actually got confused and thought that something might be broken because of the sound. Yeah, you can hear that clutch, it's not good. But it was working. You could hear it going. It sounded like, I don't even know what it sounded like, but it was basically blowing. Woo! Okay, yeah, that's incredibly hot. I don't know why I always touch everything, but yeah. I don't think the belt was slipping too much. Doesn't feel hot. The belt's pretty cold to the touch. I mean, it's not cold. It's a little warm, but it's not hot, that's for sure. This stuff, super hot. Super, super hot. I might want to put a bigger fan on here. But, I mean, it worked. But you can hear that clutch, though. It's super bad. It goes and locks up and stuff. Well, that's pretty cool. So if I'm doing something, I can let this run continuously, and it'll keep itself at 100. It looked like it was staying. I'm sure you could not see from your vantage point, but from my vantage point, it was staying at about 102 psi, which is just about where I want it. I don't want it getting much higher than 100. And it would start off gassing at like 95, 98 maybe, I would say. So I think it's a pretty good system. It works. I have no idea what this little piece of junk is on the back here, because it's this stupid ring that cuts your finger if you pull on it because of how poorly it was made. I think that's like to let out the air in the system as like an emergency thing, but I pulled it and it got stuck open, and so I was like having to fiddle with it. So I don't know what this is, but the main system works fine. But yeah, very happy with this. Our plumbing with the copper pipe and everything and all the fittings, they worked good. No leaks that I could tell of. Everything stayed fine, nothing melted. That's a success. Alright, well, it's been a very long time, once again, since we did the last part in this video. But I've got a handle thingy worked out here a little bit. So it's found me a while, but at a Lowe's that wasn't even local, I was able to get these, which is 1/2-inch inside diameter steel pipes. They're galvanized, or at least they have some coating on them, so it looks like aluminum, but it's not. And they did not fit into here, quite into these. There's kind of this bent, recessed metal, and you're meant to slide it all the way through to this side, but I'll explain, it wouldn't go through because it wasn't the right size, so I had to grind it, hammer it into more of a square shape, and then hammer it in with a sledgehammer. But the good thing about that is these are super tight in here, really well pressure fit into this area because the metal's having to bend and conform to get in there, so it's really locked in place. And I think I don't even need to do anything else. I think they're just going to hold themselves in here real nicely. And these welds on the side is what will be supporting it. And I think they're strong enough. And I won't be carrying this around a whole lot, but I can pick it up by these. Not with one hand, but... So I think this is going to work. And this is about where I want the handle length, maybe. It's pretty long, but that's just because this giant engine is hanging way in front of the wheels, which makes it incredibly heavy and hard to maneuver around without a longer handle. And then my idea is to take this here dowel, which is 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/4 inch oak dowel, so pretty hefty thing. And once these are cut evenly into the right length, drill holes and slide this on here like this, and then epoxy it on and drill holes maybe in the ends to put pins in so it'll hold it as well. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we settled on 15 inches length for each of these. So let me see here, because I have a bunch of bolts and thingies that could do a good job. You know what? These studs would work really good for pins, because they're not really consistent size though, but I think that these guys will work good. They might be a little bit too long though, but I can find a drill bit that's the right size, and then drill into the end of that thing and push it in there with lots of epoxy. And there'll also be a hole going through this piece of metal and this piece of metal where these will be able to go through, so the wood and this are physically connected together. And so I think these are going to work good. And I can easily trim them down as well, you know, if it does. And of course I'll rough them up so the epoxy will grip and whatnot. But right now, since these are pretty long, I can have these things extending out quite a ways. So like that's probably a little too far, but how about like this? Alright. I'm gonna cut it down on the miter saw here. Alright, looks like a handle to me. Alright, so here we have where the two holes need to be, there and there. Now this drill bit is the closest one I have, and it's 3/4 of an inch, and the outside diameter of that pipe is more like 5/8. So it's going to be a loose fit. I'm going to see how loose the hole is. So I'm just going to drill into this scrap piece of 2x4 here. Pipe. I think if we put those pins in and epoxy it all up, I think it'll still be sturdy enough. So that is pretty loose, but I think it'll work. Alright. Oh yeah, that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight to put on these thin little bits that are, you know, having to support all the weight. Alright, so this drill bit should be the same size as this, and it's roughly the same length as well. I am of course going to sand all this, but right now I'm just getting everything so it'll fit together. Trying to make sure I'm going in perfectly straight, which is oddly hard to do. Anyways, so that hole's drilled all the way through. Ooh, that's a beautiful fit. Goes into this point, so we'll need to cut that off later. But that is really very nice. So now I just need to do the same thing on the other side. Woo! Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Look at that. Same distance out and everything. It's maybe a little off center, but that's fine. Just as long as it's, you can see, oh man, you can see that it's definitely intersecting the pipe, going straight through the middle on both sides. And so yeah, that ain't going nowhere. Because these are going to support a lot of the weight. Oh yeah, that feels great. Alright, so now I'm going to do a lot of sanding on this and shaping to get things to the right size and smoothness, and then we'll epoxy it all up. Alright, I scuffed up the surfaces of these pipes, of these pins, and of course I sanded this guy so it was nice and smooth, and the inside's already plenty rough enough to get a good grip. Where goes? There's a pocket in this epoxy mix here. I don't know if you're supposed to shake or not. Probably not. Alright, and now next. that should be good. Now we just wait for it to dry, and then of course we'll cut off those pins and cut off the pipe so it's flush, and then we'll sand it and a little more and paint it up. Okay, so it's the next day. This has had time to dry, or not dry, but the epoxy's had time to cure, and seems to hold pretty good. It also allows me to finally get that hose off the ground. Alright, well, I already cut off one of these. I'm sorry, I forgot to film it. I thought I was filming it, but I just forgot to hit the record button. It happens. But hey, we have the other side. It's not a complete loss. That is looking real nice. Alright, we got the pipe taped up and ready to paint the handle here. We're just going to be using a gloss black, because, I mean, a lot of stuff on here is already that color, like the compressor and flywheel and stuff, so it should match. Alright, well, let this stuff dry and see how it turned out later on. Alright, so I believe this thing has dried. You can see I think it came out quite nice. It definitely still needs more drying, but the coat wasn't perfect, but this is meant to be utilitarian. So just so long as it looks halfway decent. And I like that these pipes are kind of filed to the contours of this piece here of wood. And of course these studs on either side have been cut down. And it finally gives somewhere to put this, so it's not just laying on the floor. Alright, well, moment of truth.
Well, we're done.
Hope this doesn't break when I go down this. Wait, what? No, dude, it has my handprint in it.
It's not falling out.
No, it's still a little bit tacky, so now it has my handprint in it. We're not done yet. I still have to fix the hole in the tank and then maybe give the tank a paint job because it looks not so good right now and it doesn't match the engine. But until then, thank you for watching and I will see you next time.